There is a kind of fear that does not knock on doors. It does not crawl across ceilings. It does not whisper from the hallway at 3 in the morning. It does not need footsteps, shadows, or locked doors. Because the most terrifying place in the world is the one place you cannot leave, your own mind. Tell me something. Have you ever had a thought that did not feel like yours? A memory arriving without context. A sentence in your head spoken in a voice you do not recognize. A dream so vivid it lingers like evidence after waking. A room that feels subtly wrong, though nothing in it has changed. The slow suspicion that reality itself has shifted half an inch to the left. Psychological horror is different. It does not rush. It settles, quietly, patiently. It lets doubt do the work. Tonight's episode is not about what lives in the dark. It is about what waits in the spaces between certainty and perception. 6 first-person confessions. 6 minds under pressure. 6 descents into fear that may be haunting, madness, memory collapse, or something worse. Each story will begin with something almost ordinary, a harmless observation, a missed call, a forgotten face, a recurring dream. Then slowly, the edges of reality will begin to loosen. And by the final story, the question will no longer be what is happening. The question will be, who is the one noticing it? Welcome to episode 18, Scary Psychological Horror. Dim the lights, keep the room quiet, and as you listen, ask yourself one thing. If fear begins inside the mind, how do you know when it has become real? My name is Amelia Hart, and before I tell you what happened, I need you to think about something. Have you ever woken from a dream so vividly that the room around you still felt slightly altered? The angle of the chair, the curtain half open when you're certain you closed it, a mug left on the table in a place you don't remember putting it. Most people dismiss that feeling, sleep residue, a tired mind dragging dream logic into the first minutes of waking. But tell me, what if the room itself begins agreeing with the dream? What if every morning, reality shifts a little closer to whatever you saw in your sleep? Because that is what happened to me. And by the 4th night, I stopped being sure whether I was waking up at all. This happened in London, a 1-bedroom flat in Bloomsbury, 3rd floor, old building, Victorian conversion, narrow hallway, tall windows, floorboards that complained under every step. The sort of place that seems to have its own memory. I had lived there for nearly 8 months, long enough to know every detail without looking. The coat stand by the door, the green armchair near the window, the kitchen table angled slightly left because one leg was uneven. I am telling you this because certainty matters. When fear is psychological, certainty is the first thing it takes. It began with a dream, simple, almost mundane. I dreamed I woke in my own bed and saw the armchair facing me instead of the window. Nothing else, no shadow, no figure sitting in it, just the chair turned toward the bed. The dream was unsettling precisely because it was so ordinary. Objects in the wrong place, familiarity misaligned. That is sometimes worse than outright horror, because the mind keeps asking, did I move it? Tell me honestly, if you dreamed something in your room had shifted, would you check the moment you woke? I did, and the chair was facing the bed, exactly as in the dream. Same angle, same slight tilt in the front leg. For several seconds I just sat there, still under the duvet, trying to reason through it. Maybe I had moved it the night before while vacuuming. Maybe I was more tired than I realized. Reason is often the first defense, and the first casualty. That night I dreamed of the hallway, longer than usual, far longer. My bedroom door opened not onto the corridor but into a second corridor beyond it. Same wallpaper, same framed print of the river, same narrow runner rug, except it extended impossibly far into darkness. At the far end stood the kitchen table. Not in the kitchen, in the corridor, set for one, a plate, a glass of water, a folded napkin, and a handwritten note that read, "You're almost remembering." I woke gasping, heart hammering, and before I even looked, I already knew something was wrong. The room felt larger. The silence was different. You know how every home has its own acoustic signature? A familiar hush. Mine had changed. I stepped out of bed, opened the door. The hallway was longer, not impossible, not dreamlike, just wrong, at least 6 feet longer than it had been, enough that the front door now seemed farther away. And halfway down, my kitchen table moved, set for one, plate, glass, folded napkin, no note, but a wet ring on the table surface as if a glass had just been lifted. Tell me something. If your home begins reproducing your dreams with precision, do you sleep somewhere else? I should have. Instead, I told myself I was sleepwalking. Stress, overwork, subconscious behavior. I even set up my phone camera facing the bedroom door that night. I wanted evidence, proof, either of movement or of my own mind failing. That third dream changed everything. I dreamed of a second door in the sitting room, hidden behind the bookshelf. In the dream, it was painted the same cream color as the wall, almost invisible. Only the brass handle gave it away. The voice of a woman, calm, distant. Don't open it until the room is ready. I woke at 3:11 a.m., not from panic, from sound. A low wooden creak from the sitting room. I took my phone flashlight and walked out. The bookshelf had moved 6 inches from the wall, and behind it, a door. Cream painted, brass handle. I had lived there 8 months. There had never been a door. Tell me honestly, if your apartment reveals architecture that did not exist yesterday, what part of you still trusts the building? I didn't open it. Not yet. Instead, I checked the phone footage from the night before. The timestamp began at 12:04 a.m. Bedroom dark, nothing moving. Then at 2:47 a.m., the footage distorted, static, screen tearing, audio hiss. And through the distortion, my bedroom door opened. A woman entered. Not me. Tall, thin, dark nightdress. Hair hanging forward, obscuring her face. She crossed to the window, turned the chair, then stood perfectly still beside the bed for nearly 40 minutes, watching me sleep. At 3:28 a.m., the footage cut to black. When the video resumed at 6:12 a.m., the room was normal, except the chair was turned, exactly as I found it. Tell me something. If a camera records someone in your room who was never physically there, is that proof? Or contamination? I stopped sleeping well after that. Dreams began arriving in fragments, rooms folding into one another, the bathroom where the kitchen should be, the bedroom door opening into the street, a corridor that ended at my childhood home. Each morning some detail followed me back. The bathroom mirror relocated to the hallway, the lamp on the kitchen floor. A childhood photograph I had never brought to London suddenly framed on the mantel. Me, age 8, my mother, and another woman, blurred at the edges, almost erased. Then memory began slipping. I found myself standing in rooms without recalling why I had entered, forgotten conversations, lost hours. Once I returned from work and found dinner half prepared on the counter, vegetables chopped, pan still warm. I had no memory of coming home at lunch, no memory of leaving again. Only the unsettling sense that the apartment was filling the gaps for me. Tell me honestly, if a place begins behaving as if it knows your routines better than you do, how long before you start obeying it? On the 5th night, I dreamed the hidden door was open. Beyond it, not another room, a perfect copy of my flat, every detail identical. Except in that version, someone was already living there. A woman seated in the armchair, reading my book, wearing my robe, her face turned away. Then she said, "I've been waiting for you to remember which one is yours." I woke to the sound of the hidden door opening. Slow, wood dragging softly against carpet. The sitting room beyond my bedroom was dark, but I could hear movement, measured footsteps, one room over, then the soft scrape of a chair turning. I stepped into the hallway. The sitting room light was on. The hidden door stood open, and beyond it, another flat, mine, perfectly mirrored, same hallway runner, same coat stand, same framed print, same rain against the windows, and seated in the green armchair, me, wearing last night's clothes, had tilted slightly, watching. Tell me something, if another version of you is already inside your home, which one is the intruder? She smiled, not cruelly, almost sympathetically, then said, "You keep bringing pieces back in your sleep." I asked what she meant. She gestured around the room. The hallway, the chair, the table, the door. Then she added, very softly, this flat belonged to her first. The woman from the video, the voice, the figure in the room, the presence I had begun to feel even when awake. Then the other me stood and stepped closer. "You're not dreaming the apartment," she said. "The apartment is dreaming you." I don't remember what happened next. Only fragments, a sharp ringing in my ears, the lights flickering, the sense of the two flats sliding over one another like glass panes misaligned. Then morning. Sunlight through the curtains, my bed, my room, no hidden door, no second flat, no moved furniture. Everything back where it should be. Perfect, almost too perfect. Until I looked at the wall beside the bookshelf. Fresh paint, a rectangle slightly lighter than the rest, door-shaped, and at its center, the faint imprint of 4 fingertips pressed into the drying cream paint from the inside. My name is Marcus Hale, and before I tell you what happened, I need you to answer something honestly. Have you ever told a stranger something you had never said aloud before? Not because they forced it out of you, not because they guessed, because somehow they already seemed to know where the wound was. That is what therapy is supposed to feel like, isn't it? A room built for language, a place where memory can be unpacked safely. 4 walls, soft lighting, neutral-colored furniture. A ticking clock that seems quieter than it really is. A professional listener. Someone trained to separate fear from fact. But tell me, what if the person listening begins telling you what you dreamed? Word for word, before you ever speak. Because that is what happened to me. And by the 3rd session, I stopped being certain which memories were mine. This began after the panic episodes. Nothing dramatic at first. Shortness of breath, cold hands. The sense that people were watching me in ordinary places. The supermarket, the office lift, a cafe window. My doctor called it anxiety, sleep deprivation, accumulated stress, reasonable words, comforting words, the sort of vocabulary that lets you believe reality is still intact. She referred me to a therapist in Back Bay, Dr. Evelyn Shaw. Mid-40s, soft-spoken, measured tone. Office on the 6th floor of an old brownstone conversion. Bookshelves, muted lamps, a framed abstract print behind the couch. The kind of room designed to make you lower your guard. I remember noticing the scent first. Lavender, very faint, and something older beneath it. Paper, dust, rain trapped in carpet fibers. Tell me honestly, have you ever entered a room and felt as if you had already been there? That was the first thing that unsettled me, not fear. Recognition, a familiarity without memory. The first session was ordinary, background, work stress, insomnia, a recent breakup, nothing unusual. Then near the end, she asked, "Do the dreams still end in the hallway?" I stared at her. I had not mentioned dreams, not once. I asked what she meant. She tilted her head slightly, then said, "The long corridor with the red door at the end." Every muscle in my body tightened, because I had been dreaming that hallway for 6 weeks. Same corridor every night, same dim amber light, same red door, same sense that something was waiting beyond it. I had told no one, not my doctor, not friends, no messages, no journal, nothing. Tell me something. If a therapist describes your recurring dream before you mention it, is that intuition or intrusion? I asked how she knew. She smiled faintly, the kind of professional smile meant to calm. Patients often dream in symbols. That answer should have reassured me. Instead, it made the room feel smaller, because she had not described a symbol. She had described my corridor, my exact corridor, even the brass plate fixed to the red door. Number 14. The second session was worse. I entered the office and found the couch slightly angled differently, toward the bookshelf. A small change. Trivial, but enough to bother me. That is how psychological fear works. It teaches the mind to measure tiny displacements. During the session, she asked about childhood. I told her I remembered very little before age 10. She nodded as if confirming something, then said, "You always stop at the stairs." Again, a sentence that assumed shared knowledge. I asked what stairs. She looked almost surprised. The ones behind the red door. Tell me honestly, if someone continues a private dream narrative as though it were mutual memory, how long before you begin questioning your own mind? That night, the dream changed. For the first time, the red door was open. Beyond it, a staircase descending into darkness, and halfway down, Dr. Shaw. Standing with one hand on the railing, looking up at me, she said only one thing, "You left something down here." I woke at 3:14 a.m., sweat-soaked, heart racing, and my phone was lit with a missed call, unknown number, timestamp, 3:14 a.m. One voicemail, no audio, just the faint sound of breathing, slow, measured. Then a woman's voice whispering, "Come back to the stairs." Same voice, her voice, "Tell me something." If your therapist's voice crosses from office to dream to phone, where does the session end? By the 3rd appointment, Memory itself had begun to feel unreliable. I started losing fragments of time, arriving at work with no recollection of the commute, finding sentences in my notebook written in my handwriting that I did not remember writing. One appeared during a meeting. 3 words, repeated 12 times. Don't open 14. I nearly left the session early, but something compelled me to go. Need, fear, the desire for explanation. Maybe all 3. Dr. Shaw seemed different that day, more direct, less warm. She asked me if I had ever experienced trauma in childhood. I said no, at least none I remembered. She leaned forward, then said, "You were there when your brother died." The room went silent. Because I do not have a brother, I never had. I told her that. She looked confused, then genuinely concerned. "Marcus, you've spoken about Daniel in every session." The blood drained from my face, because Daniel was the name that had appeared in the notebook, again and again. A name I consciously recognized as belonging to no one. And yet the moment she said it, a memory flashed. A boy running down cellar stairs, laughter, a fall, a sharp cracking sound, darkness, then silence. Tell me honestly, if a memory appears only after someone names it, is it recovered or planted? I confronted her, asked if she was trying some kind of memory retrieval technique. She denied it, calmly, professionally, then opened a file on her lap, session notes, pages of handwriting, quotes attributed to me, descriptions of a younger brother named Daniel, an accident at age 9, guilt, repression, every page documented in neat clinical detail. Except, I had no memory of ever saying any of it. Then she asked the question that broke something in me. "Marcus, why do you keep pretending he wasn't in the house with you?" The room tilted, because suddenly the dream corridor, the red door, the staircase, they all aligned with something buried. My childhood home, the basement door painted red. Number 14 on the brass utility tag, the cellar stairs, a place my mother had forbidden us from playing. Tell me something. If the mind seals away a memory for decades, does it remain yours once someone else opens it? That night, I returned to my childhood house. My mother still lived there. Same street, same maple tree outside, same creaking porch step. I asked about Daniel. Her face changed. Not confusion, not surprise, fear, then grief. She sat down very slowly and asked, "Why are you remembering now?" The room went cold, because that sentence confirmed everything. I had a brother, younger by 2 years, dead at age 7 after falling down the basement stairs. An accident everyone agreed I was too young to fully process. They stopped speaking about him, removed photos, packed away toys, closed the basement permanently. My mother said the therapist had called her 2 weeks earlier, asking if she believed I was ready. I had never given permission for that. I had never even mentioned my mother. Tell me honestly, if your therapist is speaking to people from your past without your consent, what exactly are they trying to restore? I went back to the office the next morning, 6th floor, same building, same address, only the suite was empty. No furniture, no bookshelves, no abstract print, just dust, bare floor, and a leasing notice taped inside the glass. Vacant for 11 months. The receptionist downstairs told me no therapist had occupied that office in nearly a year. Dr. Evelyn Shaw had died in a car accident the previous spring. Then she handed me something found in the mailbox, an old patient intake form. My name, my signature, dated 11 months earlier. At the bottom, in my own handwriting, help me remember what happened to Daniel. I still dream the corridor, still see the red door. But now when it opens, someone is already standing at the bottom of the stairs, a small boy, looking up, waiting for me to admit I was the one who let him fall. And now the night grows quieter. The stories are over, but the feeling they leave behind is not. Because psychological horror does not end when the narration stops. It follows. It lingers in the spaces between thoughts, in the moments just before sleep, in the silence after a sound you cannot explain. Tonight, we did not walk through haunted houses. We did not stand in forests, hotels, trains, or forgotten roads. Tonight, we entered the one place every listener carries with them, the mind. And perhaps that is why this episode feels different. Because no locked door can keep out what already lives behind your own eyes. A voice that should not know your thoughts. A dream that leaves fingerprints in waking life. A reflection that moves before you decide to move. a memory that arrives wearing someone else's grief, a future that feels strangely remembered, a name that sounds familiar, though it has never belonged to your life. Tell me something. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever stood in a room and felt certain you had already lived that exact moment? Have you ever looked at your own face in the mirror and, for just a second, felt like a stranger was looking back? Have you ever remembered pain that you cannot trace to any real event? Because if you have, perhaps tonight's stories touched something deeper than fear. Perhaps they touched recognition. The most unsettling thing about the mind is not that it can imagine horror. It is that it can blur the line between what was imagined and what was lived. And once that line begins to fade, what remains certain? Maybe that sudden thought in the dark was never yours. Maybe the dream you woke from did not fully end. Maybe the memory you keep replaying belongs to a version of yourself you no longer are. Or maybe the mind is far less private than we have always believed. So tonight, as the room settles into silence, listen closely to your own thoughts. Pay attention to the memories that arrive too vividly, the faces that appear in dreams, the corners of the room that seem slightly different in the morning, the reflection that blinks a fraction too late. Because fear does not always knock. Sometimes it remembers you first. You've been listening to Mr. Haunting Whispers TV, where the scariest stories are the ones that stay with you after the lights go out. If tonight's whispers found their way under your skin, make sure you return for the next episode. Because next time, the horror may not come from the mind. It may come from what has been waiting just outside it. Until the next whisper, sleep lightly, trust your thoughts carefully, and if a memory feels too real to be yours, do not follow it too far into the dark.
You've been listening to Mr. Haunting Whispers, where every truth leaves a scar. If the story unsettled you, good. That means you were listening. Subscribe and stay close to the dark, because the next whisper might be for you.